Hello everyone, welcome to ACCA F5, and now we are going to start first chapter of ACCA F5, Performance Management. Now in the last lesson, in the last first introductory video, I gave you the introduction of subject, myself and accountancy too, because these are the three things which we will be involved. Normally I ask the introduction, normally I introduce myself to the class as well in the live class, but because it is just a recorded video, so you can't introduce me. You can't introduce yourself to me, so it is just one way video lecture. Anyway, now we are going to start our first topic, which is costing. In the previous video I told you that there are different study syllabus. There are different sections in our study syllabus. So one of the topic was on costing. Now this is one of the topics, this is one of the sections, and in this section there will be different chapters which we will be studying. Now in costing, by costing we know that when we are going to sell something, obviously we need to figure out that how much will it cost us. Only then we will be able to know how much we are going to make profit, right? Now if we do not know anything about costing, we don't know how much this product will cost us, then it is pointless to go ahead, because we won't be able to make any profit. We won't be able to know how much we are going to make the profit. If we know the costing, if we know how much the product will cost us, then we can go ahead, we can sell it, we can figure out how much we are going to make in this product. Alright, so our first section is on costing. Now if you have passed F2, if you have passed FMA, or you have definitely passed some degree, so you have came through from either of these three categories. Whichever group you relate to, you will have seen this little bit of costing in your earlier studies. Now while we make the product, whichever product it is, we will have three types of cost involved while making that product. So the first one will be the material, which is the raw material. Then someone is making that product, isn't it? That would be labor, and some overheads will also be involved, like the factory rent, the machinery and all that, and admin costs and everything. So basically there will be three different types of costs which will be involved while making any product which we are making. So material, labor and overhead. You will have seen a chapter on all of these in F2 level or at FMA. So if you are not comfortable with these topics while you finish this lecture, I would encourage you to go to F2 section or FMA section of FIA on Accountancy Tube and watch the lectures on all of these chapters if you feel that you are not sure about them. However, I assume that you know about them, so I will just quickly go through, because normally the first chapter, which is Introduction to Traditional Costing Methods, it is just a brought forward knowledge. So examiner won't examine in as much detail as he did in F2, because you already have studied these topics. So examiner has examined at F2 level. There's a lot of other stuff to examine at F5 level, so that's why he won't examine these topics in as much detail as he did in F2 level. Alright, so that's why I will quickly go through, because it is just a revision of what you have seen earlier at F2, FMA or your degree. Right, now material and labor, that's fine because we can easily calculate it. Normally the problem arises when it comes to overheads. Now what are the overheads? Now about costing. When we go back to the costing, there are different types of costs. We have seen different classification of costs, you remember? Now one was a direct cost and other one was indirect cost, and there were many different other ways to classify the costs as well, but I will remain with just these two. So one was a direct cost and the one was indirect cost. Now what the direct cost is, now if I ask you that this is a marker and what is the direct cost involved while making this product, excuse me, what would you say? I think I would say that the raw material is involved in it. Then anything else you can say, you can imagine from this product by looking at this product? Could you tell me what other cost is involved? Apart from material, I think someone who made this product, someone who was involved in manufacturing of this marker, labor, that is also one of the costs. So the cost which you can trace back while looking at the product, that is direct cost. So if you look at the product, you can directly see that this cost is involved while making this product. So you can trace directly by looking at the product, that cost is called a direct cost. Now, these are not the only costs which are involved while making this product. There will be some other costs as well which we cannot think of. Like, say for example, this marker was manufactured in a factory. Now, there was some rent to pay in that factory. We did not think about it while we looked at this product first of all. So we did not think about the rent which was being paid in the factory where it was manufactured, right? Likewise, there was some admin staff as well who was not directly involved in manufacturing of this product. However, he was sitting in the office who was doing the paperwork. So that was also one of the costs. So the costs which are not directly traceable to the product, that is called indirect cost. So there is one direct cost which we can directly trace to by looking at the product. Another one is indirect cost which we cannot see by looking at the product, but that is also involved while manufacturing this product. Because that admin staff who is doing the paperwork, say for example, if this marker was not manufactured, if we are not manufacturing this marker, then that admin staff would not be sitting in the office, will he? Obviously, he's sitting in the office, he's doing the paperwork because he has to draw the invoices and he has to do some Excel spreadsheets and all that and profit and loss accounts. Why he's doing it? Because we are manufacturing these markers and some other stuff as well. So if there is no product at all, that admin staff won't be sitting. So that admin staff is sitting just because of this marker, because we are making this product. So that's why we need to see that how much of that admin cost should we absorb in one single unit of this product, right? So we know that while making this marker, we have incurred some material, right? We have incurred some labor as well. We have incurred some overheads as well. Now, what are the overheads? As I said, indirect cost which is not directly traceable while looking at the product, that are overheads, right? So direct cost is, material is a direct cost, labor is a direct cost. However, overheads are indirect cost. So overheads are sometimes known as indirect costs, right? Now, about overheads, if we look at the overheads, now it's easier to trace material, it's easier to know labor. However, when it comes to the overheads, it's very, very difficult, especially about fixed overheads. It's very, very difficult to know that how much of these total overheads which are given to us, how much of these total overheads shall we absorb in one single unit. Say for example, if excuse me, if you are manufacturing these markers, there are lots and lots of them. But if we look at the overheads, say for example $200,000, then that are fixed overheads, that are total overheads. Now, how much of them overheads shall we absorb in one single unit? Now, one normal way to do is that total overheads divided by number of units, isn't it? Right? That's fine. That's fine. However, in that factory, in that manufacturing unit, there wasn't just this product involved. There was some other stuff as well, right? Now, if say for example in that factory there was some other complicated stuff, other technical stuff was being manufactured as well, which was taking longer than to manufacture just this marker, because this marker is just a simple item. It took a labor, I don't know, 20 minutes to manufacture one marker, whereas there was another product under the same roof which was taking him 2 hours to manufacture, right? Now, one product which is manufactured in 20 minutes, another product which is manufactured in 2 hours, which product is costing us more? Obviously the one which is taking longer, because we have to pay the labor, I don't know, what's the minimum wage, say for example £7 an hour. So if we are paying him £7 an hour, he's taking 2 hours to manufacture a product. We are paying him £12, whereas we are paying just, I don't know, less than £7 to manufacture the marker. So basically what I mean to say is that when it comes to the overheads, one way to do is that take the total overheads and divide by the number of units. That's fine. However, it is fine only in the case if only one manufacturing product is manufactured. However, normally what happens that in the manufacturing factory, there are so many different products which are manufactured. One product takes longer, other product takes less time. So it's not fair to divide the total overheads by number of units, right? Now these are the overheads, total overheads, which we are dividing by number of units. However, one unit is taking longer, other one is taking less time, so it's not a fair basis. So in that case, absorption costing tells us that we should absorb the overheads by according to the labor hours or according to the machine hours, so whichever we may choose. Why? Because our overheads are causing because of the units. So one unit may be causing more overheads and other one causing less overheads. So that's why the one who is causing more overheads shall have the more share of the overheads. The one causing less overheads shall have the less share of overheads in one product, right? So that is the way to do it. So under absorption costing, what we used to do was we take the overheads and we divide by the number of machine hours or the labor hours, and according to that we absorb the overhead cost to the number of units, right? So that was the way to do it. So that was our first chapter. Now let's look at the notes now, please. I will quickly share the screen with you as well. Just bear me 1 second. Actually, I won't share the screen this time because I have to do one question on the board as well. Excuse me. So that if I share the screen, you won't be able to see these notes. You won't be able to see the notes if I share the screen, right? You have to see the board. Sorry, not the notes, the board. So please come to page number 1 of the ACCA 5 notes. It's chapter number 1 on costing. Excuse me. So let's start. It says it is a process of determining the cost of units produced or services provided. Then it tells us the types of the cost. So one is the direct cost and the one is indirect cost. I've already explained to you. Dealing with overheads, one is a traditional way of dealing with overheads, which I have already explained. One was divided by number of units, but we can only do that if we are manufacturing one product in a factory. Normally we are not making one product, we are manufacturing too many products in a factory. In that case we use absorption costing. Under this method we absorb fair share of production and sometimes non-production overheads to the product and service costs. Excuse me. Now while absorbing that, there was one formula to calculate, which was the formula of overhead absorption rate, if you remember, right? Now that is also called OAR, if you remember from your earlier studies. Overhead absorption rate, OAR. Excuse me, overhead absorption rate. So what we do was we take fixed overheads and divide it by activity level. Excuse me. So basically we take the overheads and we divide it by activity level, and that's how we calculate the overhead absorption rate, right? Now this activity level basically will be either the machine hours or the labor hours, depending on the type of product which they are making. Sometimes it is manufacturing, sometimes it is the labor hours which is used more in that manufacturing unit. Sometimes we are using more machine hours, it is machine incentive, then we will use the machine hours under in this formula. Excuse me. Now look at the example which is given to us in the notes on page number 1, please. It says as a chocolate manufacturer produces 3 products. One is Sky Bar, then is Moon Egg, and the final one is Sun Bar. So they are making 3 different types of chocolate confectionery, right? So one is Sky Bar, a bar of solid milk chocolate. Then the second one is egg, a chocolate egg, and then the last one is a chocolate bar. Details is given below. So direct labor cost per unit is given for all of these. Direct material cost is also given. Then units of production, which are sales as well, are also given. Then after that, labor hours per unit. Now this is not the cost, it is labor hours per unit. And then finally, machine hours are also given, and finally selling price per unit is given. Now beneath that it tells us the production overheads, which are $80,000, and it requires us to calculate full production cost per unit and profit per unit for each product using absorption costing, and you have to comment on the implications of the figures calculated and watch me do it in the lecture. So let's do this question, which excuse me, which you can see in the notes. if you have the excuse me, and I assume you will have the notebooks with you, so please note everything which I'm writing on the board. Only this way you will find it easier to pass and you will learn more. Otherwise what happens normally, you forget what I've written on the board, and while revising it helps you a lot when you are revising the stuff. So what everything I've written on the board, when you are revising and you have noted it down, then it will remind you everything. It will remind you my words and while you are revising it. Alright, so that's why I asked you to note down everything I'm writing on the board. So what we have to do is we'll have to calculate the cost and the profit, and that's it. So there are three different products. So one is a Sky Bar, then it's Moon Egg, and Sun Bar. Sun Bar? Yeah, Sun Bar. So there are three different products. So first of all we need to take the sales. So we'll take the sales, and sales per unit is how much? Baby, 1 second, let me put the dollar sign. So sales per unit is 0.5, 0.45, and for Sun Bar it's 0.43. That's the sales. Now we need to deduct the cost out of it. So let's cost. In the cost I've got materials, then I've got labor, and I've got some overheads as well. Right, now material is given to us. Material cost per unit is 0.17.